So, hello, ladies and gents. Delighted to be joined by former Whitehaven coach, of course, and obviously been right throughout the game in a number of different roles. Scotland head coach, as well as a coach as a number of other clubs, including Widnes and Barrow, where we've had competition against him. Obviously, most memorable for us as Whitehaven fans back in 2005 with the league title. But today's not longer involved in the coaching side of the game, at least, but involved very heavily in the behind the scenes with player welfare, at the likes of being involved in the likes of Wigan, now with Rugby League Cares, and we'll have a big part to play in England as they look to win the World Cup in the behind the scenes role, hopefully in the World Cup at the end of this year. It's fantastic to welcome Steve. Steve, welcome back to Whitehaven.
Yeah, no, thank you, Jordan. The hairs on the back of my neck stood up when you mentioned the 2005 season. Only fond memories of everybody up at Whitehaven, the old community, the club, the players, the staff, and obviously yourself as well. So yeah, it's good to catch up.
Yeah, I mean, we'll have a slight look back at obviously your time at the club, obviously, but we'll mainly focusing on your work with Rugby League Cares and obviously what work will be going in with England ahead of the World Cup for this year. But I think obviously we can't speak to yourself really without looking back at your time back at the club and those few years you were here. Obviously came in. A few seasons before, before we seen the 2005, but you came in and sort of had an immediate impact on the club. Obviously, the time you come in was really coming to with a great bit of success with the club on the field. Obviously, you started with the work. I'm sure you'll agree with Paul before you took on. Paul really took the club to that level, and obviously you just continued his work there, but were able to build upon it. Some fantastic seasons. Obviously, didn't quite get there in the end. But that season 2004 and 2005, as you've said, you've got some fantastic memories, and it must be something that you are, or hopefully are, really proud of.
Yeah, I'm really proud of it. Just good to be involved in it, and a massive part of my life. It was you mentioned. I think Paul. Paul deserves a credit for that as well. I think he changed the culture around at the club. There was still a little bit of work to do around that, but when I came to the club and given that opportunity by Barry Richardson, the board, there was a big change probably already happening. So it was a good environment to actually come into, and there were fantastic times. The first season was challenging. We had some good results, a little bit up and down, and fair play to everybody at the club. And when I say everybody at the club, I count the community clubs in that as well. And the whole town got behind the club, and there was a few bridges to be built as well, in that area as well. And I just remember that first season, we did okay, a little bit disappointed at the end of it, but the second season and the third season, we brought some key people in there. We kept to a strict budget as well, but the board, I remember Barry Richardson and Kenny Shepherd, God bless, a few of the other ones. They were fantastic, and I see some of the games now on Facebook and some of the memories and some of the reminiscing we do, and they were unbelievable days. To do, I think what we did during that period of time. As you mentioned, we didn't get the big one. We had a couple of cracks at it, and that's something that will probably always stick with me. But they were good times.
Obviously you mentioned the looking back and being able to remember them sort of memories. Obviously, Des, as part of the vice presidents, put a video out a good few months ago now, but it was after it was the league game down at Rochdale where we secured the league title, and just obviously the atmosphere and obviously the memories of back at the game and the party down back here at the recreation ground as it was. As you mentioned, like say, some fantastic memories. We got to 2 grand finals, so fantastic achievement. Unfortunately, we weren't successful in either of them. The 2004 one obviously came really, really close. Greg McNally will tell you, the pictures that haunt him now. There's obviously Greg grinding stand, which I'm sure you've seen, but like I say, some fantastic memories, and something we always came back. We had the anniversary dinner, which I think was that 6. We're heading into 6 years ago now, which yet again only seems like yesterday. Yeah, I think. Yeah, so I mean, yeah, it just shows, you know, like I said, time flies, and obviously you've had other jobs within rugby league as well. Obviously, you had the Widnes job right after Whitehaven, and won your Northern Rail Cup final there against us, and you had your obviously success there, and obviously right throughout the game, you've been back up in Cumbria with Barrow as well. So you've been well travelled. As we said, you're not really involved in the coaching side anymore. Obviously, I mean, looking back, you had Scotland there as well, and had fantastic success with Scotland with the World Cups, and being getting the first team outside of that traditional top three to win a point in that memorable night at Derwent Park. I remember being there myself. But, you know, like you say, you're not involved with coaching anymore as it stands. You've moved into the background, and as to be called, but a really important part of what you're doing at the moment is the player welfare. You were involved there with Wigan. Now you're involved with Rugby League Cares. Just, you know, what's really involved in them roles you've been doing in the last few years.
Oh, you mentioned a few things there with the memories. You know, the Scotland and you know, working at Wigan and working at Whitehaven and Barrow, and I'm really fortunate, Jordan, in the positions I've had. You know, I'm lucky enough to probably coach at every level that I wanted to coach at. You know, I'm still doing a little bit with the England Community Lions, which is something I'm really passionate about. And but I've always been interested in player welfare. You know, it's something that I started probably when I went to Salford in 1995. And I love my time at Wigan. There was an opportunity at Wigan to take over the player welfare side of it, and to work with Shaun and to work with the first team. I still did a little bit of you know, performance side on games. You know, so, you know, fortunate enough to stand on the touchline at, you know, my home club town. You know, going to Wembley and grand finals and stuff, and great memories. But my passion has probably always been player welfare. And, you know, my role at the moment is head of player welfare with Rugby League Cares, and an absolute crucial role. I think as a sport, we're lucky that we've got a decent blueprint and got a good reputation with regards to player welfare, but there's so many things we can do better, you know, that whether that be in Super League, in the Championship, or League One, or as a game as a whole, you know, the community aspect of the game. So, you know, Rugby League Cares have got a lot of arms to the charity, and, you know, really proud to be heading all that up for the sport.
So there may be obviously people watching this who don't know what Rugby League Cares is. Obviously, you know, it is a fantastic charity that obviously do a lot of work within Rugby League. But what is Rugby League Cares, and what as a charity do they provide to within Rugby League?
Yeah, well, Rugby League Cares is the charitable arm of the game, so it is independent. So the different areas of the charity, they've got the benevolent fund is part of Rugby League Cares, which do unbelievable work. You know, an example of that is recently probably with Mossy Massoy at Hull KR, and what an inspirational story that is. You know, there's a lot of work that Steve Ball and the benevolent fund do. You know, to support the families and the players who you know, may have sustained a life changing injury during the game, and you know, maybe even worse than that, you know, the families have seen the loved ones, you know, pass away on the field as well. So they do some fantastic work there. There's the heritage side of the charity, so we're looking at, you know, keeping all the heritage and being really proud of the game's history. So there's going to be a museum opening in the George Hotel in Huddersfield. That's a massive project. There's a player welfare side of it. So in 2019, Rugby League Cares took over the whole player welfare structure of the game. So that's overseeing the welfare policy and the welfare structure of Super League and everything within the RFL. So that's something that I oversee now. Jordan, really, you know, I set the blueprint of the welfare policy, and, you know, put some processes in place and keep in touch with, you know, all the Super League player welfare managers on a regular basis. They've got full-time player welfare managers. And the Championship and League One have got some fantastic people who, you know, they're part-time and they've got other jobs, but they do a good job of looking after the players. And, you know, you mentioned Des Byrne. You know, I had a trip up to Whitehaven last year before the lockdown to catch up with Des, and went over to Derwent Park as well and caught up with a few people. So really interesting job, can be a challenging job, but you know, the main emphasis is making sure that all the players and all the stakeholders within our game are looked after.
I mean, rugby league, it's known for its rough and its tough nature, and on the field and off the field. And sometimes, that obviously it's true on the field, and obviously off the field that can have an impact on players. And as you mentioned, with injuries and forced retirements and other aspects. So you mentioned, it's really busy. You've mentioned obviously Mossy there as well. He's a really, I suppose it's really a big story that has come out of the last 12 months. Obviously, unfortunately, with Mossy's injury, and I suppose as well, obviously another real story would have been Rob Burrow as well. Obviously, rugby league's had its real heartache, for the want of a better phrase, over the last 12 to 18 months, with obviously them sort of stories that have come out. But obviously I've got the article in front of me where you've been awarded the level 4 certificate in elite athlete wellbeing from the Wellbeing Science Institute, which what is that? You're only one, I believe, of 2 in the UK that's got that. So what's that qualification about, and what does that help you bring to the role within your RL Cares there?
Yeah, well, it was a qualification that did at Loughborough. So it was set over a 12-month period, and then quite a few assessments in there as well, and some workplace assessments. And it first saw that when I went over to the NRL probably 3 years ago, where all the player welfare managers, that's the minimum standard to actually work in the job. And we had some minimum standards, and we still do, of having some counselling qualifications. So all our player welfare managers have to be level 3 counsellor qualified, which is a fantastic qualification and really does help in our roles. But this is a specialist qualification that it's bespoke to elite athletes, professional players, and it was brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And the actual cohort, the first cohort in this country, involved Premier League player welfare managers, cricket and Gaelic football. Fantastic course, and it was just looking a bit more of a holistic view of welfare. So people think it's just having a chat about maybe mental health, and it is about that, but it's about putting things in place from a holistic point of view. So careers, finance, mental health support, relationship support, supporting not only the player but the partners as well and the families, spirituality. Injuries. So you mentioned injuries, that's a crucial part of our game. It's a tough game, our sport. So it's introducing things that maybe the player can adapt, and the clubs can adapt to make sure that the players are, probably looked after a little bit better when they're injured as well. And to be fair, the clubs have really bought into it. So that information that I've gained from them qualifications is starting to get filtered down. And I've got a meeting with the head coaches of Super League on Monday. And then next Wednesday, all the Championship and League One coaches, and that's a big thing that's going to be discussed. So fantastic qualification. Really lucky to get it, and hopefully it'll benefit everybody within our sport.
You obviously mentioned there. Obviously, we said that earlier. Rugby league's a tough sport, and it can have an impact not physically but mentally. Obviously, we mentioned a player that has recently retired is Stevie Ward due to injury, and obviously the likes of. Obviously with the likes of him and the likes of Mossy, who's had to retire through injury, but a number of obviously players who have now left the game. And like you say, your support through Rugby League Cares, not just yours, but obviously you'll obviously a fantastic team within Rugby League Cares there as well. Being able to support these players who've maybe been through forced retirement, early retirement, but even maybe haven't been able to fortunate to be able to sustain themselves without rugby league, just being able to give them the support and make sure that their life, that there is a life outside of rugby league for them.
Yeah, absolutely, and there's a life alongside rugby league as well. A lot of people think it's players, when they retire, but it's probably 2 years ago now I left Wigan to become the sport's first transition manager, which was a bold move for the charity and the sport, Super League and the RFL, and that just involved everybody, all the players that were in a transition in their career. Now that might be a player who's retiring, might be a long-term injured, it might be a scholarship player moving into academy moving into first team, it may be Super League players going into dual reg, it might be part-time players moving to full-time. So there's a lot of transition that happens during a player's career, and we do support a lot of players who unfortunately are in crisis, and that doesn't have to be Super League, that can be everybody within the game and staff. But we also look to put some proactive things in place as well. So we've got some great stories, Jordan, of players who have got some fantastic careers alongside playing. I use Whitehaven as an example. But, I remember, coming down, and I couldn't believe what I was seeing when I first came to Whitehaven. There were lads who were either working on the farm, working at Sellafield, coming training, or playing, or travelling down to Oldham, on a Sunday, then going straight back to work, without any sleep. And that's something that probably I haven't got a clue about. I lived in that bubble of being fortunate to live in Wigan and full time. So I think the experience of also working, part time and working in that part time environment I think it stood me in good stead. And I can probably empathise with a lot of things that that the players and staff are going through. And I think the response has been brilliant. The response from all clubs. We can do a lot better, and we're always looking for things to do better. But the response from like CEOs and the players and the coaching staff has been superb. Certainly over the last 12 months when everybody's needed that little bit extra.
Yeah, you mentioned obviously, the game's gone through a real upheaval in the last 12 months. Obviously, the likes of ourselves, part-time, in the Championship and League One, we haven't seen any action for which will be 12 months by the time we return to the field in the next month or so. But even then, say for the likes of Super League, it's gone from having full houses at Leeds and Wigan or St Helens on a Friday night to being behind closed doors. So you mentioned that's been a real transition, not only for the players, but for the clubs as well, in terms of finances, and Sky in terms of broadcasting. So I suppose a lot of that work in the last 12 months will have been needed to adapt to the change due to the ever-changing situation that was COVID.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been a horrendous time, hasn't it? Not only for the game, but just for everybody, the community. And the one thing about our sport and Rugby League Cares and everybody involved, we stick together when times get tough. There's no better example that than up in Cumbria, at Whitehaven, and that's what we've done. So it's been a horrendous time. For not only Rugby League but for sport in general. No crowds. People that love going to the sport, love going to the grounds, have been stuck in the house, so they've had no interaction with anybody. No. And it's also hit people financially. The players, the clubs. So we've supported quite a few with hardship funds as well. With regards to players that may have come on really, really hard times. They can't put food on the table. They can't afford the mortgages. So we have got access to a hardship fund that some of the players have accessed. And it's been a real tough time, but I think the fact that everybody's now lived through something like this, which we never thought we would live through, people are now thinking, I maybe have to plan a little bit better now for the future. Put some savings away, or look to invest, or look at getting my finances sorted, and that's where we can also help.
Yes, certainly so. And obviously, maybe look at players even at the younger ends. You mentioned you do a lot of work with academies and scholarship, and the lads who say are looking up and say, I'm going to need a career either alongside or without rugby league, because unfortunately, not everyone at academies or scholarships is going to make it into the first, into first grade, into Super League or to Championship or even League One. They may go back to their community clubs, and being able to have that help to have a look for a career, like say, either alongside or outside rugby league is only going to help them hopefully into the future.
Definitely, yeah. And you mentioned the scholarships. It starts there, as soon as and younger, as soon as you step foot in a professional environment, there should be some support there for them. And it's irrelevant if somebody's earning, £200,000 a year, or somebody's earning £200 a year with regards to our game. It's a short lifespan of being a rugby league player, so they'll finish, if they're lucky, around about 30, 31, some a little bit older. So they're probably 30 years from proper retirement, and you can have as much money as you want, but it's also having that purpose, getting up in the morning and being motivated, and having that drive to do something. And a lot of players say to me, I've got no skills. I've been playing rugby since I was 5 years of age. Rugby players have got a vast amount of skills that any business would absolutely jump at the opportunity to get them on board. You know, the resilience, the teamwork, you know, the timekeeping, everything that you would want from a good employee. Rugby players do have, some better than others, but they've all got that, and it's getting that message across. You know, I've probably been guilty of it myself at a younger age when I was playing. That sometimes you think you're invincible. You know, your career's going to go until you're 30. You're going to play in grand finals and challenge cups and be a millionaire. And it's great having dreams, but realistically, it doesn't happen to many, like you said. So planning is crucial, and that's where the clubs come into it as well. You know, the people at the clubs, you know, very much switched on now, and that message gets filtered down to everybody at the club. And we've still got a bit more work to do with that, you know, education-wise, but you know, we've started some decent processes so far to get that message down.
Oh, fantastic! You know, like you say, it's great to see that obviously the game is switching on, because if you know, we're both being honest, it hasn't been there before in all capacities, you know, especially at all clubs. But you know, like you say, that's starting to filter through. You know, you said you're having meetings in the next week or so with clubs, just to, you know, just to say what's going on, and you know what work everyone can do. So no, so that's absolutely fantastic. Now, one thing we also mentioned there as well is obviously that you're going to be moving into the England setup as part of, you know, Shaun Wane's staff going into this World Cup year. Is it a very similar role with Shaun that you'll be taking it and the going into the squad there?
I think so. Yeah, I think it's just having that 1%er really. You know, the national team's never had that. Being in my role is being independent is really important. So I'm not connected to a club, and so I probably, you know, have contact with a majority of Shaun's squad already. You know, speaking to him on a regular basis. So that relationship is probably there with a lot of them already. And knowing Shaun as I know him, he values player welfare unbelievably. You know, he wants people to be outstanding, tough rugby league players. He's a winner, but he also wants them to have a good life off the field as well. And just from experience, you know, being with Scotland as well, I'm aware that at the end of the season you're away for up to 8 weeks. You know, away from your families. You know, and these players have had support all year round, and then suddenly, you know, for 8 weeks, they don't have that. So it's just probably been a little bit of having some presence around there, and if players want to have a chat, they can, and putting a few things proactively in place between now and when the World Cup starts. So can't wait, you know, to work with Shaun again. Is brilliant.
You've mentioned Shaun. I mean, obviously, most people within rugby league will know what a warrior. You know, obviously we can put it in terms of the actual word as well as of what a warrior Shaun is on the field and has been off the field. And I listened to the podcast he done with Jake Humphrey, and you know, that was really enlightening to obviously to hear that and see what background Shaun had when he was younger and how it enabled him and give him that warrior and that winning attitude of wanting to do that. But as you've said, you know, through his time at Wigan, you know, the outlook of when he had the academy job alongside full-time roles, doing everything there. So just worked his way up. Obviously, he's now got the lead job as an England head coach. So it just shows that, you know, anyone with that sort of attitude, especially within rugby league, if you work hard enough, you'll be given and you'll get an opportunity.
Yeah, I hope so. You know, that's you know, we're in privileged positions as well. You know, to be involved in the England setup and to be involved in professional sport is an immense privilege, and it's certainly, I know Shaun, I can't speak for Shaun, but I know a bit, I think the same, something that we never take for granted, and to be involved with England. And you know, Shaun is you know, just proven winner. You know, when you work closely with him and with the teams that he's been successful with, you know why. It's not luck. You know, it's not, don't just rock up on at Old Trafford and win. You know, the preparation and the attention to detail, and you know, his staff. You know, he's got some great staff with him as well. So I think everybody knows exactly where they stand with Shaun. You know, it is that attention to detail and just being really, really honest, not only with his staff and you know, everybody who works with him, but his players. And it is them values of doing the little things right, and not only doing them right, doing them every day. So living those values every day. And I'm really confident about the World Cup. Really confident. You know, we had some good news about crowds, and hopefully the World Cup will happen at the end of the year. but just the staff that he's got together and the players and things I've seen in the meetings I've been in, really confident.
Obviously, you mentioned there. Obviously, we've had some good news this week. Obviously, with the roadmap, we're hoping the World Cup will be able to have full capacity. I'm hoping as well, because I've got tickets for the double header at Anfield, so I am hoping it goes ahead. Hopefully, I do hope I get some more games, but hopefully being able to see England in a final and lift that trophy, but hopefully something you'll be a part of. Steve, it's been a pleasure speaking to yourself. You obviously fantastic insight as always, and obviously had a quick look back at your time here in the chocolate blue and gold as well. So thank you very much. I wish you well in all your roles, and good luck with, especially in your future roles, and hopefully with England towards the end of the year.
Thanks, Jordan. Great to catch up. Thanks for having us.
Cheers, Matt. Thank you very much.